Well, hello. Every gal needs a cowboy hat.
Scanning the room, you look for a familiar face. Everyone is a stranger. Your heart's racing, you feel nauseous. New plan. You meet 4 new people. Okay, 3. 2? You can handle 2. And then you think, I hate this. This just feels so fake. And before you talk to even 1 new person, you're looking for the nearest exit.
Okay. Crazy. Yo, who invited this chick?
My heart races when I walk into a room full of strangers too. Except it's not anxiety, it's excitement. I'm not thinking networking quota. I'm thinking, look at all these stories. And I get so pumped about talking to people that I don't know.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Well, hello, everyone. Well, I decided to show up in my own historic garb, which is the Scottish tam, because today is St. Andrew's Day. So coming from good Scottish stock, I wanted to do a little, bring on some bagpipe music and, well, just wish everyone a happy St. Andrew's Day and looking forward to January and the Robbie Burns Day. And if you check out my LinkedIn post today, you'll see some information about St. Andrew's Day. And also when I gave a keynote talk about my Robbie Burns connection and the branding of the Bard. Well, welcome. So my name is Gail Robertson, and I am Chief Curiosity Officer with GailNow. I am super excited today because, well, for those of you who aren't aware, my focus is on helping manufacturers both tell and share their story. And it's using curiosity as the tool that helps us get there and helping people to sign up, suit up, and show up. And my guest today is someone, well, this is basically about showing, not just telling, about the power of networking, the power of connecting, and the power of finding people to help you do things sometimes if maybe that's not your expertise, or maybe it's a time issue and you need to make sure that you are building out that network of people that can help you. So we're going to be showing, not just telling, because when I share this story and the person that's going to come on screen, this person definitely understands networking, connecting, and also the power that is in LinkedIn. Now, while we're on a few different platforms, and while I'm really focused of late a little bit more on YouTube, I do understand how powerful LinkedIn is and how it can connect to some other platforms as well. So I'd like to now welcome everybody in our studio audience. And I also want to welcome my very special guest. And if I had a drum, I'd say drum roll. Welcome, Inga.
Hello.
So great to have you. And Inger is someone who wears, speaking of hats, wears a few different hats. She helps behind the scenes on my show. She helps behind the scenes with LinkedIn, and we work together on some manufacturing projects. And definitely Inger has a specialty in the area of helping people get started on LinkedIn as well, in both coaching and helping guide them. So before we start, Inger, let's go over to the studio audience. Let's see. Well, you're there. Say hello. We have a LinkedIn user. Don't know who that is. Said hello. We have Whitney. Oh, hello, friends. Yes, Whitney. So great to see you. when you weren't here, I think it was last week, it was like, where's Whitney? Because Whitney's just, now she shows up and an amazing person. So,
Yes.
and she has Scottish heritage too. Well, there you go. Maybe we're related way back in the Scottish world. And Katie, she says, hello.
Hi.
Katie, we are overdue for an Instagram FaceTime or whatever, because we often get on there and we have interesting conversations, don't we, Katie? All right. So, well, let's start with, Ingor and I. Well, Ingor, do you want to maybe share how we first met and the connection? Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. It was way back, way back when I really first started showing up on LinkedIn. Um, not long before, and then I was connected to someone who brought me into a networking group that was about manufacturing. And I remember thinking during the first visit that I had with them, I thought, what the heck am I doing here? And I had my camera off for most of it because I just kept thinking, oh, I don't think I fit in. What is the point of being here? And they became like my family, really. And through Sam, who was the host, he's the one that brought us together. And I remember our first meeting and how I just felt that we clicked.
Mm-hmm.
And it was awesome, and just all because I really got out of my comfort zone.
All right. Now there's a little bit of a freeze there, so I don't know, maybe because it's the cold weather, I don't know, it froze a bit. But yes, it was an ERP call, and I think we both were in that meeting going, "What?" Like I barely know how to spell ERP.
Right.
Yes, it was definitely a great connection because we jumped on a call and then we ended up starting doing work together. And so that's kind of what reason I wanted to start with that call or with that story is often, people get into social media or attend things like that. And that is their goal. I've got to get business. And we both were in there. That was not, we were just interested. We were both curious
Yes.
about what was happening and had no expectation, I think, of, at that point, really, whether at that point, you were doing more admin work and have gone on to grow your business and go down different routes because of curiosity. We're going to talk about that, about how, one of the things that, and I've started to talk about this, my future project will be looking at the power of curiosity. And curiosity has so much power when you use it, when you embrace it. Wow, opens up so many doors. So we were both curious. We land in that group and we started doing work. So how does this apply to manufacturing? Well, we're going to talk about that today, about how when you sign up, suit up, and show up, use curiosity, you will both find solutions sometimes to your problem, but you will also find people that you may be providing solutions to. And if you go into it with that approach and attitude, much like you go to a trade show, much like you go to an event, a networking event, the same thing kind of happens in the LinkedIn world. So
yes.
So in terms of, let's go back, because a lot of people may think, someone like yourself, oh, well, it's easy for Ingor. She's, out there posting and LinkedIn and it just comes easy to her. Let's go back to your origin story of how you got on LinkedIn, because I didn't know until earlier today that story, which is interesting, of how you came on to LinkedIn.
Yeah. I remember back in 2011, actually, somebody came to a meeting with my boss, and he and I interacted, emailed, called, and then met in person. And after the meeting, after we met in person, he sent me an invitation to join LinkedIn. And that invitation sat in my inbox for a while because I thought, what am I going to do on LinkedIn? Just recently I had started a new job, and I really didn't want to jeopardize that. I didn't want my boss to think that I was looking for work. So I sort of just left the invitation there. But during conversation with my boss, maybe a week or two after that invitation came to me, I told him that, this person, let's call him Bob. Bob invited me to join LinkedIn, and I told my boss, because we had an honesty between us. And I
Mhm.
just said, I don't want to join because I didn't want you to think that I'm looking for work. And he said, no, LinkedIn is more than that. It's all about networking. So come and join the fun, and, and connect. Even my boss actually told me to connect with him as well. So
And that was right around what, 2011?
yes.
So that would have been probably right when things were definitely shifting. Because at one time, LinkedIn, if you went on LinkedIn, as soon as you saw someone on LinkedIn, it was kind of, they're looking for work. I remember that exact same thought. And I want to go to a couple of comments here before we go any further, because I know, well, Whitney said she was missed last week because she took the day off and saw Black Panther with her husband. So good for
Awesome.
you. That was, well, and it was just before the US Thanksgiving. So
Yes.
I had decided, yeah, to go ahead anyways. But Katie said, did someone say Irish Heritage Victor? No, not Irish, Scottish, but we'll get to the Irish. Don't worry, we'll get there. Just wait till St. Patty's Day. That's when I can wear green. So now, okay. She also said, I'm starting to hate LinkedIn. Now, I want to address this because I think, because the next thing she says, jumping over to YouTube because of LinkedIn glitches. I think we need to separate LinkedIn Live and LinkedIn for networking.
Yeah.
And whatever is going on with LinkedIn when it comes to live, I'm not sure. They seem to be having problems. But it doesn't take away from the power of LinkedIn as a networking opportunity, as a place to connect and post. So I hear you, Katie. I think, without putting words in your mouth, I think that's what you mean, that it's because of the live glitches. And that's why, for video and live, I'm switching more to using YouTube as the main platform for discussion. But good point to discuss. And also, Ingrid and I talked about this earlier too, is that, each platform in social media has a different purpose, different
Yes.
use. And sometimes people put, I know people that say they hate social media, but then I say, well, you just spent all this time on YouTube. Well, that's different. Okay, that's social media. So, yeah. So maybe we can talk a bit about the different platforms, and what are some of the highlights about LinkedIn that you'd say is particularly good for people in manufacturing, but also maybe other people as well that might be listening. I know we have some manufacturing people listening, but we might have some lurkers out there that aren't
Yes.
in manufacturing per se.
Yes. Well, I want to point out that, LinkedIn is the most trusted social media platform in the world, specifically because people feel that a source of information that comes from LinkedIn can be trusted,
Yep. That
right?
is, yep.
That is a major stat. And then when you think about it, there are more than 800 million users on LinkedIn worldwide. So if you connect with a few, just a few,
Wow.
there are so many people that you can tap into, so many different communities that you can tap into and connect with. So yes, there are more than 800 million users worldwide, and 80% of those people, 4 out of 5 of the LinkedIn users, are decision makers, so C-level executives.
Wow.
And they are the ones that will make those decisions to use your service or to buy your product. So it's important to be on here.
4 out of 5 are decision makers. That is amazing. And let's look at this stat. This stat always, I find, is probably maybe one of the most powerful. We had it at 1%, and over the years it's gone up a bit.
So,
So can you talk about this?
Well, think about it like this. It says only 5.2% of users share content, right? So if you do, you definitely stand out. If if you stand on a podium and you start speaking, that's how it is when you're sharing on LinkedIn, because at least a few people will see what it is that you're talking about. And the best thing about LinkedIn is not just your first connections see your content, because if your first connections see your content and they interact with it, then their connections, their first connections will see your content, which are your second connections, right? And it can even be seen by third connections. So you have it's really, if you don't use LinkedIn, there's so much untapped potential of reaching the right audience.
And this stat always, I and sometimes I have to go, and there's a new study. The reason we updated this, and I will
Mhm.
say one thing, from working with Inger, and one thing we've talked about, when you go to someone that has an area of expertise, keeping up on these new stats, keeping up on trends. We're going to talk about algorithm in a few minutes. But whenever I see this stat, I'm always like going, really, really? But then I think about, okay, how many people do I see posting in my world? And when you think about all those millions or billions of people around the world. So if only 5.2% share content, what are the rest of the people doing?
Right, they're watching, they see what you're doing. There are so many people who lurk that you don't even realize that they see your content. I um, I've been privileged enough to actually know that there are people that lurk, because they send me DMs. I get
Mhm.
messages saying, "Oh, thank you so much for posting this, for being vulnerable, for being authentic and showing up, sharing your journey with us." And they'll reference something that I know that I only put in a post,
Right.
and I know that they didn't engage with that content, but at least I'm getting to know that they actually, even though they didn't engage with it, they have seen it and it has impacted them.
Now, you've also had, I understand, clients that have given testimonials about, since you've been helping them on LinkedIn, they've had what happened. So this is, you've come along, they weren't necessarily had a profile, weren't that active. You came along and worked your magic, and then what happened?
Their content got seen. They've gotten more eyes on their profile, on their content, and made connections outside of their niche market. And a lot of us are afraid really to go outside of that niche market. But let's say for instance, if you're in manufacturing and you're connecting with someone who's in marketing,
Mhm.
that's outside of your niche market, yes. However, they may have people that they are connected to that are part of your niche market. So you have to remember that LinkedIn is not just about connecting people with people, right? It's so much more than that. It's connecting people with, like Michelle Janae says, it's connecting people with ideas, people with opportunities, and people with people.
Yes. Yeah, that is for sure. Now there's something I was going to ask about. I lost my train of thought there for a minute about oh, let's see. Well, let's jump into algorithm till I come back and remember what I was going to say. See, you know what I did? I started to look at comments, and then I got thinking and then I went down squirrel. So I lost my train of thought there, which happens because we're live.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
happens.
it happens. It's like
And
my
there's
area
no,
of specialty. My
yes,
brain has lots of gonna talk, but and it'll come back to me when I'm gonna, because there was something as you're talking, I was like, oh, I gotta remember to ask about that. But let's talk about the algorithm. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I remember the story because it ties into manufacturing. So I was at a trade show recently, and I was talking to this, up and coming company. It was a newer company, And I said something about social media, and he goes, "Oh yeah, we don't do social media." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I was talking to him, and then I said something about LinkedIn, and he said, "Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we when we did this post on LinkedIn, I said, "Oh, I thought you didn't use LinkedIn." "Oh, we'll post periodically." And I'm like, "Okay." And he says, "Yeah, we got like a 500 million, like some mega million project." And I was like, what? So I said, "I thought you didn't use." He goes, "Well, yeah, okay, yeah, that." So I think that's the other thing. People sometimes don't see that. And it was, again, it wasn't anything that someone had posted. They had seen this post, and they didn't even post that often. And I might be wrong with that 500 million. Maybe it was 50 million. Anyways, it was a lot of money. It was a
Yeah.
big deal they got. So, but the point here is that because they were posting, even not that often,
Yeah.
someone reached out to them and they secured a deal. So again, anyone out there that's not posting, you are leaving money on the table, because there's going to be someone else that posts and they're going to see them and they're going to go to them for business. I'm going to take the hats off. It's getting a little scratchy. And plus, if anyone tunes in, I was wearing this hat because it's St. Andrew's Day today, but I'm going to take the hat off for a bit. Plus, it's getting a little hot.
So I often think about analogies, right? And I think that having a LinkedIn account and just lurking, you can equate it to deciding to go to a trade show and just standing against the wall and watching everybody talk and network. That's basically
Mm.
what you're doing. And, it's almost pointless to really go to, well, it is pointless going to a trade show. You invested the time, you took the effort, and you went there, and then you just stand and watch everybody else make those connections, network, talk to each other, and probably do business together too, right? So that's what you're doing when you show up on LinkedIn and all you do is scroll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you may be, if you're looking for a solution, that's great. But if you're looking to actually help people with solutions, and that's a really key part of LinkedIn is, you can show, not just tell. And as I said at the start, I help manufacturers show, not just tell their story,
Yes.
because people want to see that content. And you can even just do a simple post about a day in the life, or talk about something you do. Now, I hear this a lot in manufacturing. They say, "Well, oh, everybody does that, or everybody knows that." I said, "Yes, but not everybody is talking about it. Not everybody's posting it. So if you're the only one posting it," and I learned this when I was at trade shows sometimes, because I'd say, "Oh, okay, here's our 3 key points." And they'd say, when I worked in insurance, "Well, yeah, but everybody offers that." I said, "Yeah, but not everybody is celebrating it." Well, the way I celebrated it too. So, I mean, but it's also about that show up, right? You have to show up and believe in it.
Yeah.
And this goes back to that Dr. Seuss thing too, right? Is that no one can be exactly you.
Yes.
So every post, you and I could do the same kind of idea, and it's going to be presented very differently.
Yeah, exactly. Um, it's crazy, and as long as you're showing up as you and not wanting to copy somebody else, right? You need to develop a strategy that for yourself, because you don't want to become connected or even develop friendships and relationships based off of falsities.
Yep.
You want, because eventually the truth will come out, right? So you might as well just be yourself.
Everyone I've met so far, including you when we met up in Toronto, but when I've met Ray Zagato, when I met David Chrysler, who else did I meet? Oh, Damon Pastulka. Everybody is exactly what I'd expect them to be, how they show up online, how they show up in video. They were to a T. Like,
Yeah.
at no time did I go, "Oh, that's it." They all said, yeah, that I was crazy as they thought I was.
Yeah, and let me read you the quote that you reference. It says, "Today you are you that is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you."
I love Dr. Seuss. And did you know the actual pronunciation of his name is Dr. Seuss? My
Ah,
son did a project, and sure enough, I went and researched it. There's a whole history about Dr. Seuss, but his name is pronounced Dr. Seuss. So it's amazing how sometimes, anyways, just interesting bits of information that I gather in my head, my curious brain. Sometimes I find
yes.
you never know when you're going to need that. Just throw out, right? People say
Right?
that's not true. I go, yeah, go search it. It is. Um, okay, let's talk about, well, before we go on, let's go to some of the comments. So Katie has said, yeah, she said, agree that LinkedIn has been disappointing. I miss being able to interact on that platform. I like the reactions and the comments.
It's
Yes.
Whitney. Yes, Whitney
Oh,
says
that's
that.
Whitney. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. That was, I got my companies mixed up. And then Katie says, there's many issues. LinkedIn as a platform. My distastefully has a lot to do with the bugs.
Ooh.
Ooh, now I'm itching. You can tell when you look at impressions as well. Yes. Impressions are important, but so is engagement. We're going to talk about that when we get to algorithm. Posting is so important.
Yes.
And let's take that as a jumping off point. Thank you, Diane. That is definitely step one. And I want to stress again that and not to put words in your mouth, Ingrid, but I've watched you do this and I've seen the testimonials and heard feedback. So one of Ingrid's strengths is that she starts at that ground level with people, gets them comfortable, gets their page optimized, and then does it in small steps. So as opposed to just a lot of the training in LinkedIn sometimes comes in like they expect people to know more than they may know. So there's a fairly steep learning curve, especially in manufacturing, just because they've done so much in person, right? So
Yes.
I that's one of the things that I think is a real strength of yours. And Inger is extremely patient and a great coach with people. I just want to say that much more than I am at times. I'm like, okay, just do this, go. um, so in terms of posting, and then let's talk a little bit about engagement. And I know that recent report that just came out, and we could either maybe drop a link to that, because that's one thing Inger keeps up to date on is, new reports that are coming out, new information. So what did it say about engagement? That you want to also, your company pages have engaging company pages have 3 times better engagement than only posting. So do you want to maybe add to that about the power of engaging beyond just posting?
Um, yeah, it is so important to engage in content, in other people's content, not just responding to comments on yours. And the reason is because this is how you get seen, how you build those relationships. It's like, you know, I I do have analogies about lots of things. I will say
I
this,
love analogies.
but it's like, living in a neighborhood and only just putting in your earphones, not looking at people, not greeting them when you pass them, just, focused on getting home and getting to work and getting home and getting to work and really not building those relationships. Well, what happens if at 10 p.m. or at 11 p.m. you're doing something and you need salt? What do? You can't go to those people because you haven't built the relationships with them, right? And so for LinkedIn, it's so important to really communicate with the people that are in your circle. And I'm talking about engaging in their content, responding to their comments on your posts, and also reaching out through the DMs and taking it beyond this platform too, because
Mhm.
that's how you grow. You learn, because when you are exposed to different kinds of people that have different backgrounds to you, people that have different experiences than you have, when you are exposed to those people, you actually grow and you learn more, right?
Yep.
So that's important. But for LinkedIn, for sure, engagement is key. And when I'm speaking about engagement, I'm not talking about great post
Yeah.
and thanks for commenting when somebody comments on your post. That is not what I'm talking about. You need to show up authentically, and you rather take the time and comment on 5 posts authentically than copy and paste the same response for 25 posts, because that doesn't work. And to me, I just feel like if somebody does that to me, I feel like, you know, I'm just a number.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not being seen. They don't know me, and they're not trying to know me either. So let's say hello to
Yes.
our awesome friend Russ
Hello,
Head.
Russ.
Thank you for tuning in. Nice to see you. We trust that you're doing well.
Yeah.
Um,
He said, great to
he
see
said
you,
it's great
ladies.
to see you. Yes.
Lady.
And then before we
Oh,
let's cut Gail off from singing,
yeah,
guys.
I know. Don't let me sing.
And then we have the King of Process
Okay.
here today. Hello, King, Your
David,
Majesty. Nice to see you.
Your Majesty.
And he says good. He's greeting Russ, and Russ says 1,000 thanks to both of you, Gail and Inga.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you,
good.
Russ. Nice to see you here.
And I see we have still some, so people are still seeing on LinkedIn, and then Katie's jumping in with Russ, and yeah, so that's great.
Yes.
I love the analogy of the neighbor, because that kind of works as in life, you know. Now I'm at the polar opposite of that. Like, I talk to everybody, lineups, my neighbors. I remember when I first moved into this house, I needed an onion for some, I don't know what it was. So there were some people on the street here. So I went to my one neighbor, and they didn't have, they said, go across the street. And I'm going, okay. I knew my neighbors a bit. I'm like, I know them. I go over. Next thing, they came up with this box. Do you want a red onion, a yellow onion, a white? I kid you
Oh
not.
my
It had a whole, like, they're like, pick whatever you need, whatever you need. And it's a very culturally
God.
diverse community, right? So, and he wouldn't let me just take one. No, take more than one. Take more than one, right? And I come home with these
Oh wow.
onions.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it is about making those connections, and then, you know, all of doing that opens up doors.
Yes.
So if you're in a, and I've seen this in manufacturing, because a lot of the salespeople will go to a trade show, and they are talking to people, and you kind of can do the same on LinkedIn or on any social media, really, but it's about, you know, giving that value back. So I really like that analogy, because I could see that, you know, headphones in, head down, you don't talk to anybody, and your world can really change when you look up and smile and say hello to a stranger, right? That whole don't talk to strangers. No. I talk to strangers all the
Yeah, I can imagine.
time. Even if they don't want to talk to me, I was like, hello. And I chase people down the street. You will talk to me.
Oh my God.
Oh, we gotta have some fun sometimes, don't we?
Yes. Yes, we
Ingrid
do.
and I have fun. One of the benefits of us working together, we have many a laugh, and I think that's another advantage. And a lot of the people that are in our chat today are people that we do know.
Yes.
And I wonder if there's, you know, I'd love if there's a lurker out there that would just say, hey, I'm a lurker. I just want to say hello. I've never commented before.
Yes, please.
Please, come on. Prove this. Show, don't tell. Show yourself. Say, I am a lurker. You'll get a prize.
Oh my gosh. I actually
So while we're waiting for the lurker to drop a comment, Gail reminds the ladies at the mall I want to do a survey. Have you ever been? Yes, I don't do survey. I'm like, no. But sometimes they will love all of you. Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I couldn't do that job because, okay, maybe I could, but
yes, you could.
I could, but I wouldn't want to. There's a difference, right? Like I could, yeah, because I wouldn't really want to chase people down. It would be.
In all honesty, I can actually see that there are people watching on LinkedIn that are not commenting.
Okay. David says he's a lurker. No, he's not. I see us all the laughing faces afterwards because, yeah, David is definitely not. Definitely is not a David is a producer. David produces, listens, comment. He says, kidding, of course, networking in the comments exactly. I've met so many. Yes. Let's leave this. This is so true. I can tell you the number of people I've met and connected with because of watching a podcast, watching a live show, commenting. Oh, and the other thing I've done, we've got, says now we are competing to be a lurker to the fabulous prize. I love networking LinkedIn. I don't know who that is. It says LinkedIn user. So
I'm gonna look
prize.
and see
Okay.
if I can
Send me
see.
a DM and we'll figure out the prize. uh,
Oh
so
my gosh.
yeah. So the other thing that is really cool to do when it comes to engaging is go and comment. So say David has liked someone's page or comment that I don't know that person. I will then go into that comment of that person and comment, because then what happens is it's like meeting a whole bunch of new people. It's like walking in a room with, I don't know these people as well, but I know that David knows them. So it's kind of like, well, if David knows them, I'm kind of curious to see. And oh my goodness, that's opened up doors as well, because it's like, hold on. Oh, so David said, let's go Joyce Swanky. Okay. Is that Joyce? Is Joyce the LinkedIn user, David?
I think so.
Okay. I don't know Joyce. Joyce was my mom's name, so I love that name. Okay. Well, very cool. Okay, Joyce. Okay. If you're the lurker today, this is a holiday CD featuring Sweetheart. That was going to be, I was thinking, I will get to sing. I will maybe create a TikTok specifically for someone. Who wants me to create a TikTok for them? Come on, I'll do a duet.
Yes, let's do it.
It's funny. I was just talking to someone about TikTok, and they were new to TikTok, had never seen it before, and wondered who I was doing these duets with, because they were like, big accounts and that, and they were like, how does Gail know? Like, did she see them somewhere? So, okay, Katie, I would love to do a duet with you. That'd be fun.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. I'll stay off TikTok. Well, I will come back to TikTok again one day, because TikTok is another fascinating place to.
Dave says,
the prize should be a song, David. Well, maybe not. Okay, let's jump over and talk about algorithm. So I used to think, and I've heard this, that algorithm is kind of a cold way of looking at social. It sounds like you're just trying to trying to rig the system or something. And it sounds like, I don't know. Is it? So let's talk about algorithm and what that all means.
Well, all social media has an algorithm, right? And basically what it means is how many people actually get to see your content, and how it depends on a lot of things. I've heard so many different things about the algorithm, including somebody that said that this person is quite the LinkedIn guru, and he said that the algorithm changes multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Is it something that we should be doing? Because it does feel calculating. It does feel cold. It does feel inauthentic, right? And I think the jury is still out on that question. Because yes, chasing the algorithm or playing to the algorithm does allow your content to be seen by more people. It does allow you to get more engagement. But is it real? I don't know.
I think, and we talked a bit about this earlier, and I think how I see it is that you don't want to, if you're only playing to the algorithm and you're doing everything in a calculated way, it's a bit like only making friends with people that you're going to get something back from, right? I see algorithm as a piece of the puzzle. You want to, put out content that your clients or prospective clients will need. The one thing I've learned about really working with YouTube and, how do people have success there and have done well and have become great providers of content is that there is a listening to what, like, the questions people are asking, because there is things like keyword research and and there's some real basics, like ask your client, what are the top questions your clients ask you? If your clients ask you certain things, that there's lots more people out there. So if you're answering those questions, technically that's kind of playing to the algorithm, but you're doing a service to clients and future clients. So yeah, I think that's an interesting approach that, you don't want to only play to the algorithm, but the algorithm does have some tips because we do follow some of those things. So let's go through some of the tips that, and this latest algorithm research report that just came out talked about some of these things. So apparently the first 90 minutes after you post, let's talk about some things you can do those first 90 minutes after you post.
They say the engagement in the first 90 minutes is usually important to kickstart the growth of a post, right?
Mhm.
So some elements that you could get more, that you can use to get more eyes on your post from the first second is, we need to first increase our followers. So in creator mode allows other people to be able to follow you more, right?
Mhm.
I see Katie actually asked a question and I want to read her the answer because I've seen it. It
Mhm.
says creator mode can help you grow your following on LinkedIn. When you switch to creator mode, your reach will be amplified and your primary profile action button switches from connect to follow. That's why, when somebody goes to your profile, they only see follow, but they can click on the ellipsis
Mhm.
and then be able to connect that way. It says this makes it more likely that people will follow you since it eliminates the need for you to approve the connection first. So that's the benefit of creator mode. Um, and yeah, like get more people to ring your bell so that they could get notified by by LinkedIn when you do have content that gets posted, right? And you need to respond to all comments with your own comment in these first 90 minutes. Sounds like work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it pays. It pays off.
And you have seen, and we have discussed this because you have got feedback from clients you've worked with. And I think this is really key that, and it's hard to sometimes put time to do some of these things. So there's a reason that, the skills you bring to the table have been around, you will stay on that, you'll do the research
Yes.
and the legwork, because it will help expand the reach. And I want to just add about that because, I guess as Whitney said, so creator mode is more about gaining a follower, not making connections. Yes and no. Here's where I found it to be helpful with the follow. Sometimes, to me, a follow sometimes will be like a wave. So sometimes I'll see someone's followed me and then I'll go look at their profile and then I'll send them a connection request because I'm like, oh, okay, sounds like, and it's kind of like a shortcut. As like, to me, it's like a wave. So I sometimes will follow people and the same thing will happen because it's almost like you're giving, if I'm following someone, I'm sort of saying, hey, I'm interested. I'm interested in saying hello. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a benefit. And it has led to, a connection that might be of interest. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should always be about the power of making connections. And then going back
Yeah.
to looking at, these algorithm, these tips, because I know Katie says you must reply to each comment within 90 minutes, question mark. Must is, I mean, all of what this report says is that when they've researched it, did all the data, did all the studies, they found that when people did those things, it made a difference.
Yes.
Now, you might not always be able to reply to every comment. Now, I don't think replying to the comment
No,
unless
it's within the first 90 minutes of posting.
of the posting. Yeah.
So if you get 4 comments, you need to respond to each comment with your own.
Yeah.
No,
I
link,
mean,
and
did
she's
LinkedIn say they
asking.
got, no,
No.
sorry. Yeah. That came from a report. Thank you, Katie, for that clarification. This was from this algorithm research report that talked about, yeah. So, no, yeah, you must or you will get kicked off LinkedIn.
No.
That's the way it is, Katie.
No, it's
You
just
must
that
respond.
it helps your content reach more people if you do.
Yeah. The other thing, can we talk about reposting and sharing? Because that was new. That's another new. And again, all of the things we're talking about right now, this is all new information, everyone, that's come out of this report. And it's based on studies that have been done around the algorithm and how LinkedIn works. So you don't have to do this. It's just tips. And the reason I want to have Ingor on to talk about this is why you hire people to help you do things. Like you hire, accountants, you hire people in IT because you want to at least believe that they're going to keep up to date on things, any new updates on, if you're hiring your accountant or your bookkeeper, like my bookkeeper or accountant, I want them to keep up to date on all the changes with Revenue Canada, because I don't want to worry about that. I don't want to be going to their website. So I've hired people to do that. And that's the same with what we're talking about today, is that it's about keeping up to date on changes. So, okay, let's talk about reposting and sharing and the change.
So before, if you reposted somebody else's post or shared someone else's post, that wasn't good. But now, studies show that it actually does reach people, and it does reach more people than it did before. So that's a good thing because sometimes you don't have time to create your own post from scratch, right? You want to create something with substance, right? So at least if you repost or share somebody else's post, make sure that you put in your own thoughts first before sharing. Don't just share it.
Yeah. No, that is very good. Yeah. And so that's a change, it used, and ideally, and I've done this, is I've taken content from someone else's page, but gave them full credit, directed them back to their page. But I actually did my own post and quoted them in my
Yes.
post. I think that's generally would be likely the ideal, but if you don't have time, then you can
Yes.
post or share.
Yes. And LinkedIn likes original content.
Yes.
So you get more eyes on your content if you post something original as opposed to sharing or copying and pasting somebody else's post.
And speaking of content, LinkedIn does like content, because that's the whole thing about being on social, is that they want you to be social. They want you to share. They want engagement. This is all just like, again, if you're going to a trade show, if you're going to an event, the idea is to not everybody stand there and no one talk to one another. It's all about connecting. If you go to a conference, you want to hear from good speakers. You want to hear from people with their own ideas and content. So no
Yeah.
different than on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They did. Oh, go ahead.
Can we talk about why you
Yes.
should be sharing content? What's the point of that? Can anybody let us know what their thoughts are on just why it's important to share content? Because a lot of us we shy away from that, right? For the longest time, I didn't post on LinkedIn, and I'm talking about years. For years, I didn't post on LinkedIn. Um, and because you're afraid of what so and so is going to say or what they're going to think if they read your post, right? um, so drop us a comment and let us know what you think is part of the reason why we need to share content. um, Dave, I think Katie probably had to go to her webinar, so
Yes.
she's saying
He
peace.
said, peace
Peace
out.
out. Yeah. And Dave says LinkedIn worked great for about 13 minutes. Hello, my YouTube friends. So,
Well, let's go to Katie's comment, because she said, oh, wait a minute. It sure is fun. Yes, you were listening, Katie. You get the gold star for today. Yes, I have said that the part of my sign up, suit up, and show up is that you have a duty to share your ideas, share your knowledge, and
yes.
yeah. Yes.
Oh, she says peace out if she had to comment within
Oh,
90 minutes. Okay.
yeah. Yeah. And, you know, you do the best you can too. And I always say it's start somewhere, just like
Yes.
people have heard me say this, even if you do one post a month, you're going to be further ahead than your competition. So start somewhere. For some people, it's once a month. Some people, it may be once a week. Some people, maybe twice a week. Like you have to I always say, set that bar so that you can be consistent. Consistency will always win it. And I just recently, I was in a spin class at the gym. And one of the things I was like going full tilt, all this. And the instructor actually said, yeah, no, it's better to stay consistent throughout the class, because what happened midway through the class, I thought I was ready to pass out, right? Because I put so much into the first half of the class. My tank was getting empty. So yeah.
Yeah. So let me share my reasons for why it's important to share content. Um, the first is, when you're on LinkedIn and if you want to build your community, there are certain things you need to do, right? And I have three guidelines that I follow, that I teach, and they are connect, communicate, collaborate. So when you're sharing content, it's part of the communicate tool that I teach people. And sharing content allows you to build relationships. It allows you to build that KLT that we always talk about, which is know, like, and trust. So when you share content, you build relationships because you allow people to get to know you as a person, to like you, and then to trust you. So that's part of the reason why we need to actually um, have have that where we share content on LinkedIn. The second thing is we want to build brand awareness, and even if you're not, you know, talking about what you do or the work that you do or the company that you work for, your brand is not just that. Your brand is you as a person. So if you believe in positivity and you share content about that, that's your brand. That allows people to get to know you. So you grow your brand awareness, and then when people like you, you build and grow your brand loyalty, because now people become loyal to you because they see that you are authentic. They see who you are, and that is through your content and also through your engagement. But content is key when it comes to that.
That is true. I love that answer. Those are very true, that you are, again, if you're not talking about it, and I've said this many times, if a tree falls in the forest and no one documents, no one talks about it,
Yes.
did it happen? And that's kind of how it is with our content.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I know we need to wrap up
Yep.
soon.
So
So
I do want to also say one of the things that came out from this study is that personal stories, including selfies. Yes.
yeah. Oh my god.
Well, that's part of my brand. See, that's the other thing is, for me, doing selfies is now when I go to various places, people always ask me like, "Oh, are you doing this?" Like, it's now because, and plus I have, and it is a bit of a control, because I have full control of the photo and how it's going to be taken. Other people have given my camera over to them, and next thing you know, your heads are cut off, or it's like bad lighting. So I can look, and I'm like, I know exactly what this photo will look like. So
Yes. Have a look at this.
oh, yes. Let's talk. So that is when I was on my way up north. I'm very au casual. I was on my way up north and I stopped in Toronto and we had a coffee and a treat together.
Yes.
So, yeah, that
And
is.
then of course we had to take a selfie.
Of course, we had to do the selfie. I have a video. I've never posted. I still have a video of us. Remember the wasp came and everything too.
Oh my god.
You may see
Yeah.
that video may resurface one day. Just warning you.
Oh my god.
Okay, I want to fit. Okay, how do you because I always ask all my guests this. How do you exercise your curious mind?
Whew. Um, really, there are different ways that I do it. The
Ones we
first,
can talk about publicly.
so the first one is if I come across a concept or a word or something that I don't know much about, I research it. And it can be about a person too. My husband actually often says to me, "How the heck do you know this?" But I was like, "Because Google's my friend. That's why." I find out different things about people, celebrities or people that I'm interested in. Like, you can find a lot online.
Mhm.
Can. Um, and then another way that I exercise my curious mind is by accepting people for who they are. You often speak about, be curious, not judgmental. And I exercise that in that way because I strive to accept people and not judge them if they're doing something outside of what I would do, because we all have our own standards. We all have our own ways of doing things. And so I don't judge them, but I'm curious. Sometimes I'm just curious as to why, and I'll ask why.
I love that. And, one of the things we'll be doing more work on and talking about is let's put that quote up. Yes, I want to say this. Thank God for Ingor. And then I get so primary billing Ingor, and then it's like, oh yeah, and Gail.
Oh my god.
Secondary billing.
Oh my
But
god.
it is, the project that I've been discussing is about, how everyone may need to exercise curious minds. So this is a little peek, little hint about what awaits is how we can all exercise our curious minds even more, and
Yeah.
how that will help in all areas of life. So stay
Yes.
tuned. We're going to be.
I know we're approaching the hour, but didn't you want to ask me about my recent visit to a trade show?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. Forgot about that. Thank you. Recent visit trade show. Because you didn't really want to go to that, or you were.
Nope. So I'm used to, and I wasn't before. I wasn't used to doing things online. I had to step out of my comfort zone and learn how to show up online. But as a result, I haven't done much networking in person. And I remember one day I said to Gail on the phone, "Oh, Gail, I'm thinking about going to a network, like a trade show. I should look and see what is available around me." And Gail, the very next day, sent me one, and I was like, "I'm not ready." And she said, "No, just go." And I actually I thought I was being smart, and I called a friend and I said, "Hey, there's this trade show happening. Would you like to go with me and meet me there, because we haven't met in person?" Bye, Katie. Um, and he said, "Yes, for sure, I'd love to, but I have an appointment in the morning and I'll come a little bit later." So okay, off I went to the trade show. Well, I got there and I was like, I don't want to go inside. Like, what am I going to do here? What am I going to say to people? And so I decided to wait for my friend. And I waited, an hour went by and I was still waiting. And then he messaged me to say that he won't be able to make it. And I was like, oh crap, like I can't have traveled all the way here and not go in. So I went inside, and I went and I spoke to the first person that I saw through those doors. And this gentleman was very kind. We spoke about LinkedIn. I told him what I did. And now he sent me a message asking me if I'd like to speak at an event about LinkedIn and the benefits thereof. So you just don't know what kind of doors can open when you show up online and in person.
That I love that story, because that is an example that, in reverse, right? You went into a in-person event and you rocked
Right.
it, and, you can do it with ease because you are so personal. I've met you in person, and Ah, way to go. All right. Well, I know I'm going to be having you back on as a
Thank you.
guest, and we will be uh, probably starting to. We've got a few things planned before you're in, but I'm going to have you go to the green room, and I'll see you in the green room.
Okay, see you.
Oh, wait a minute. One last thing here. Let's make sure everybody knows how they can reach you. And that Ingrid, well, I'm going to say this. I'm just going to let people know in manufacturing to spread the word, because Ingrid has had some phenomenal results with people doing that one-on-one coaching when it comes to LinkedIn. So how can they reach you?
Thank you. The best way to reach me is through LinkedIn. Just look me up. There are not many INGORs on LinkedIn. So you'll find me, you'll find my face. And definitely connect and let me know that you were watching, and we'd love to connect with me. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your show, Gail. It's been a
Okay.
pleasure.
Well, thank you. Okay. There we go. Okay. Thanks everybody for showing up today. And, Inger is definitely been someone that's made a big difference in my world in terms of, the work I've been doing. And, if anyone does want to talk strategy and wants to learn about how they can both tell and share their story and look at their brand and how to use public relations. And, for myself as both chief curiosity officer, but previously, and now, I'm a recovering journalist. So one of my strengths is definitely, helping uncover stories and also how best to position it. So I've also helped companies and people with news releases and also how to get their story out and what are the best options. So if you want to reach out to myself, and then again, Inger also does work with me and works with some clients on that one-on-one as well when it comes to LinkedIn. So if you have any questions, please reach out. And I will be back talking more about and updating what some of the next things that are in store with GailNow. I do have a few things I'm working on for next year, and it will be focused around curiosity. And so I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you, David, for the awesome conversation. Yes, it was awesome because there's so much to learn about how we can connect on social media and especially on LinkedIn. Okay, well, I am going to head out now, putting my tam back on and go listen to some more bagpipe music because I do love bagpipe. And then I'll be thinking about January, Robbie Burns Day. Because 2 years ago, I did the Immortal Memory speech. That was so fun to work on too. So learned lots myself. And about the power of branding, even as far back as the 1600s. So branding, it's always been important. Okay, thanks everybody. And we'll talk soon.